Yesterday, Coby White stepped up to the mic and made it clear that he fits perfectly on this team. And anybody that thinks he's a ball stopper, going to slow down the Chicago Bulls offense, they just got put on notice. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about the numbers that actually back that up and show why Coby White is exactly what this Bulls team is missing as far as offensively. And his return is not going to slow down this Bulls team. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, the Bulls have a big test tonight coming up in Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to talk about that as well and dive a little bit into the mailbag. We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content for today, y'all. And Coby White made it clear yesterday, for anybody who's been trying to make this conversation piece that he's not going to fit in on this team, he made it clear that he will fit perfectly on this team, going so far as to say that he is not a ball stopping. Matter of fact, Coby White said this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm very excited to get back, obviously. Just the way the team playing, we playing for each other, and it's exciting. So for me, but, you still got to stay patient at the same time, and you don't want to rush anything. And so the team's doing really well. So I'm excited to get back, but it's very fun watching them play too. I think the way I play fits perfectly with the way that we play. So quick decisions. I'm not a ball stopper. I don't hold the ball I just play to win. So, I don't see no problem or anything like that when it comes to me getting back to it. It's just in terms of, finding a rhythm playing again. I haven't played in a long time, in a couple months. So, just finding my rhythm and being patient with myself when I, do miss a couple shots and stuff like that.
You giving yourself grace, what does that look like?
He knows me and Coach got a great relationship when we're super close, and he knows how hard I am on myself to go out there and perform at a certain level every night, no matter if I've been playing or if I haven't been playing. And I think that he just wants me to, obviously it's going to take time to get back in rhythm because I haven't really played. So he just wants me to focus on that and just don't be too hard on myself.
And I think people need to start putting some respect on Alec Jacoby White's name. And here's the thing. For the people that have tried to make this narrative thing that Coby White's not going to fit on his team, somehow he's some high isolation scorer that's going to slow down the flow of this team, I need y'all to slow down, shut up, and actually learn some basketball, right? There have been some arguments made from fans that actually just aren't rooted in anything basketball or supported by anything that we see. And like most times with a lot of fan arguments, fans tend to take the wrong angle on it because there are some legitimate questions that you can ask about Coby White's streakiness. That would probably be the best avenue that you can have for it. But trying to make this conversation on Coby White and if he's going to fit in the flow of the offense, if he's going to be some selfish player and some ball stopper, I need you to actually go and watch how things play out with this team. Coby White has been one of the most unselfish Bulls players literally his whole entire tenure here. And even if you look at it over the last two seasons where he's risen as a scorer on this team, go and look at his on-court, off-court minutes with DeMar DeRozan, somebody who actually is a ball stopper and a ball-dominant player, and Coby White was able to fit in seamlessly and play really good basketball with him. Then you factor in how he was playing with Josh Giddey to end last season, and you start seeing that Coby White is not some ball-stopping player that people try to make him out to be. He's not some heavy isolation player. Coby White scores in isolation less than 20% of his scoring comes in isolation plays. Just this rhetoric that Coby White is some Zach LaVine-esque isolation player is just not supported by anything basketball-wise at all. Coby White has been the ultimate teammate his whole entire tenure, which in Chicago. He's a locker room guy. He stepped up as a leader, over the last couple of years with this Bulls team as well. All these things are legitimate. Then when you start looking at the numbers of things as well, Coby White last season averaged 24.5 points after the All-Star break, 4.3 assists, and he did so by shooting slightly under 50% from the field. On top of that, his usage rate wasn't even crazy. He was in the 77th percentile per cleaning the glass, which means that he was able to score at the rate that he was without being a high usage ball stopping player. There is no stat. There's nothing that actually supports Coby White being some player that's going to come in here and mess up the flow of what the Chicago Bulls are doing. There's just none of that. Now, one could say that, is he going to mess up the flow just by the nature of him getting back up to basketball speed and all that type of stuff? there's nothing really to simulate NBA basketball. You have to actually get on the court and play NBA basketball. There's no real replacement for that, right? But when you look at the on-ball, off-ball roles that him and Josh Giddey have already shown that they can work together at the end of last season, you're now looking at a Coby White who was already coming into this season considered to be the Bulls' best off-ball player. He is now joining a team that is now towards the top of the league in assists as far as moving the ball around. We have also finally started moving off the ball more as a team, which is already one of Coby White's strengths. Coby White joining an offense that is already more open, that is going to create more lanes and avenues for him to get more open shots, which the Bulls do generate, and how Coby creates off drives for himself and others. This is exactly the flow of what the offense does. How do you think Tre Jones gets his assists? Tre Jones isn't some stand at the top of the key. He creates off drives as well. At the start of the season, through the first 5 games, Tre Jones was leading the NBA in drives. That's exactly where Coby White fits in. And for the people that make the question about Coby White's defense, Coby White's struggles defensively are there and they are legitimate, but they've always come in pick and roll. And that's always been the Bulls' problem is the pick and roll defense. It's always been the Bulls' problem, right? With Vooch, with Coby, with Giddey, with Levine, with DeMar. It's always been that. But you're looking at a team now that has gone to a more zone-based and hybrid zone type system that makes rotation easier on the players. It keeps your help defense always closer around, and it puts players more on ball. Coby White, over the last 2.5 years, has been an above-average on-ball defender for his position. Now, I'm not saying he's elite. I'm not saying that Coby White is ever going to turn into some elite defensive player, but Coby White is not a slouch defensively. It's if you can avoid the pick and rolls, which the Bulls are doing. It's part of our defensive scheme, and you got to give credit up to Wes Unseld. It's been part of the Bulls' defensive scheme to avoid pick and rolls and make it more of an on-ball situations by the way that we're able to switch quickly. We don't have to wait for the pick and roll to happen, and we try to get out there and hedge that as quick as we can. Those are things that are going to, again, intentionality from how this team uses its personnel is a big part of why we've been able to be successful so far on the season. So, like I said, I don't want to throw a bunch of numbers at you. Go out there, do your own research, and look at it objectively. But the fact of the matter is that we have seen Coby White, already be a team player with a much more ISO-oriented offense, and he was able to fit in with that without taking away from the heavy isolation player. We saw him last year with Josh Giddey have one of his best stretches or most efficient stretches as well, while his usage rate did not jump out the stat sheet, right? And so that's the things that you want to look at with this team. And that's where you want to look at Coby White after the All-Star break, and that's what this Bulls team is trying to simulate but be more effective at, is how they played after the All-Star break last year. And even if you look at that, with a usage rate of 26%, which is not super high at all, and the way they was able to create 12 points off assist while also generating over 25 points per game himself, we talked about that last season. Josh Giddey and Coby White were responsible for almost 90% of the Bulls' offense by themselves with the way that they created for others and scored themselves. That is not a player that's going to come in here and stop what the Bulls are doing offensively. Listen, I know that I can be argumentative at times, but everything should be rooted in fact and not in this fluff feeling that some fans that don't actually watch basketball want to be loud about without actually knowing the details. When you make broad comparisons, and that's usually that's what it's been a lot with Coby. People try to compare Coby to Jamal Crawford and Ben Gordon. People now trying to compare him to Zach LaVine. That is not who he is as a player. I need us to update and be smarter as basketball fans in the way that we talk about stuff. Like I said, if you want to talk about a concern with Coby White, that concern could be streakiness. But last season, we saw Coby White have his best season with the least amount of streakiness we've ever seen from Coby. And part of that was due to, guess what? Playing with Josh Giddey and a point guard in Josh Giddey that is able to actually create and make players better around him. And we already have seen that fit, and we saw it work in the Chicago Bulls' favor last season with Coby White and Josh Giddey. You add in everything, the growth of Modest, Nikola Vucevic playing at the rate that he is right now, and also the fact that just as a team, we are a more refined offensive dominant team as well. I'll tell you what, for people that are so worried about Coby White coming in and completely disrupting things, like I said, I need updated arguments more than just he's Zach LaVine-esque, he's a ball stopper. I need you to actually have an intelligent argument, and I'll hear it. And it is what it is. And I'll love to hear from somebody who has a varying opinion on that. Let me know how you guys feel about it. But the fact of the matter is, the numbers just don't support what some of y'all have made y'all talking points in regards to Coby White. Like I said, the streakiness, you can make a conversation with that. The turnovers at times, You can make a conversation off that. I got rebuttals for that, but you can make conversations that those are more legitimate and thought forward arguments in regards to what you're concerned about Coby White being ingrained back into this team. But the fact of the matter just lies that like a lot of the talking points and arguments people have just aren't legitimate when you look at the numbers. They're just not. And none of y'all start talking about, well, my eye test, because some of y'all eyes, y'all need glasses, because some of the shit that y'all be talking about with the eye test don't hold up to nothing. Don't hold up to a goddamn thing. You need to get your eyes checked. But with that said, Coby White did talk about when he's eyeing his return. And he talked about the West Coast trip with the Chicago Bulls. So the Bulls have a West Coast trip between November 16th and the 19th. And it seems like that may be when he's eyeing that return, right? So he's aiming to return sometime during that stretch. Over that 3-game stretch, they play the Utah Jazz, Denver Nuggets, and Portland Trail Blazers, and we'll see. Seems like at practice, Coby White is doing a lot of simulating live action things. He's testing his calf. He's doing some endurance training. He's getting in some runs, which is really good with that. And so, we'll see what it comes down to. But before we get to that Utah stretch, we got a stretch of playing 4 teams all above 5-3 record or better. Starts today with the Milwaukee Bucks. Then we got the Cleveland Cavaliers, then the San Antonio Spurs, and then the Detroit Pistons. That's going to be a gauntlet for the Chicago Bulls. And I tell you what, it's going to be really good for the Bulls to get their offensive weapon and Coby White back on this team, despite what some Bulls fans will have you say. But that stretch starts off today against the Milwaukee Bucks, and this is a huge test for the Chicago Bulls. Of course, the Bucks are coming into this with a 5-3 record, like I just mentioned. And when you look at the Milwaukee Bucks and the things that they are strong at, offensively specifically, this is going to be another test of the Chicago Bulls defense, and especially our 3-point defense. The Bucks are taking the 12th most threes in the league right now at 39.3 threes per game. They're also hitting that at the 5th best 3-point percentage in the NBA so far at 39.5. The Chicago Bulls so far have really benefited from tough 3-point defense, but it's raised the question because when you look at the analytics of it all, teams are taking good 3-point shots, and they're taking shots that they usually make. And so there has been a legitimate question asked by some is the Bulls defense like that? Or is it really that the Bulls have run into some cold shooting from teams? And I think that's a legitimate shot when you look at how the New York Knicks and things, even when we got out to that huge deficit against the Philadelphia 76ers, it came from a lot of 3-point shooting and teams getting hot from that 3-point line. The Bucks are coming in here looking to do that. Now, the Bucks do score 49.5 points in the paint per game as well, which the Bulls are giving up a lot of points per paint in the game, and that's something that we have to look out for. The Bucks, while not as necessarily deep as the Chicago Bulls, they have one player averaging over 20 points per game. That's Giannis, who's averaging 32 points per game, and he's playing at a legit MVP level right now. But they do have 6 other players averaging in double figures. Now, they only have one other player that's averaging over 15 points per game, and that's Ryan Rollins, who's averaging 16.3. But other than that, they got Kevin Porter Jr. averaging 10, right? He's only played 1 game so far, though. You got Cole Anthony coming off the bench, averaging 11 for them. You got A.J. Green averaging 12. You got Gary Trent Jr. averaging 12.6. And then Kyle Kuzma also averaging 12.9 points per game. So while the Bucks don't have the players that you look at and you're like, hey, these players are killing it, scoring, whatever, but they do it through balance, and they do it through a lot of different players doing a lot of things. Surrounding Giannis with shooters and getting them a center, that's always been a recipe for success for the Milwaukee Bucks. And Miles Turner, while not doing shit offensively for this team or rebounding-wise, more on that in a second, he is averaging 2.1 blocks per game. So the Bulls are going to have to look out for that while they try to score in the paint as well in this game. And we'll just see how that develops for this team, right? But as good as the Bucks offense is, and as much of a challenge that it will present for the Chicago Bulls defense, the Milwaukee Bucks defense is bad. It's bad. It's honestly pretty trash, right? Milwaukee Bucks are coming into this with the 7th ranked offense as far as offensive rating, but they are 22nd in defensive rating on the season so far. And so when you look at what the Bucks do as far as defensively, it's all bad, right? Not ranking, they are top 10 in opponents' points scored in the paint, points scored off turnovers for opponents, opponents' second chance points, and fast break points given up. These are all areas where the Chicago Bulls are dominant at, right? So the Bulls are going to have to do what they've been doing, attacking in the paint. And with the amount of points that the Milwaukee Bucks give up in the paint coming into this game, there's a lot of room for that. The points that they give off turnovers as well is another thing that I think is really telling that you want to look at with this team, because if the Bulls can play in those passing lanes, if Isaac Okoro, Ayo Dosunmu, if he plays, he is listed as questionable for today as well. If he plays in today's game, the havoc that they can reach, as well as Trey Jones, and getting turnovers and getting the Bulls out to fast breaks. We saw the comeback against Philly. The Bulls were doing that in forcing turnovers or forcing bad possessions and then using that to get out to their offense early, which we saw benefited the Chicago Bulls hugely, right? So that's something that they're going to want to get to. Basically, the Milwaukee Bucks are a team that are susceptible to just being outworked. And with the Bulls and the physicality that we've been playing with and the activity that we've been playing with, this is a game where we're going to have to double down on outworking the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you can outwork them, it can be done. Again, they are bottom 10 in the league as far as opponents' points scored in the paint, opponents' points off turnovers, opponents' second chance points, and opponents' fast break points. Those are all places where the Bulls are extremely strong at. And the biggest one is the rebounding. The Bulls have to win on the glass tonight because the Bucks are in the bottom 10 of rebounding in the league, and they're also in the bottom 10 of assists, meaning the ball does actually stick with the Milwaukee Bucks. They don't get a lot of assists. So therefore, if the Bulls can, and I think the game plan is always, people always ask this question, well, who's going to stop Giannis? And the answer to that has always been nobody. But you can stop the players around him. And I think this is a Bucks team that is hugely susceptible to stopping everything else around Giannis and then using that to your benefit to then slow down the team as a whole. Hell, if Giannis even scores what he's been averaging, 32 points, that's not going to do much if you can stop and slow down everything else around them. And that's where the Bulls have to try to make their mark today against the Milwaukee Bucks. They have to try to do that. And I think that the Bulls can, man. Again, you guys know I don't predict wins and losses. I just don't do that, right? But even with but I try to talk about what the Chicago Bulls can do to win. And the fact of the matter is this: the Milwaukee Bucks are coming in here averaging 120 points per game. Averaging 120 points per game. And you got to respect them for that. But the defense is where you can be outworked. And so, listen, even with them being a really good offensive team, like I said, they are good. They're in the top 10 as far as offensive rating, but they're in the bottom half of the league as far as overall net rating. That's how much their defense can hold them back. But the Bucks have benefited off of efficiency. They're number one in effective field goal shooting percentage and number two in true shooting percentage. They don't typically take bad shots. So you have to play really good defense on them because they aren't going to really take bad shots in this game. So whether Ayo's playing or not, it comes down to activity. It comes down to, can you outwork this Bucks team? That is where they have the most susceptibility at. Attack them. Attack, especially getting downhill, getting in the paint, put some pressure on them also. And if you can do those things, the Bulls can come away with a win today. They're going to have to fight hard. They're going to have to get it done. The Bucks are barely beating teams as well. While the offense has been elite, they only have a point differential of 0.8, meaning that they're winning these games by average of less than 1 point. The Chicago Bulls are coming into this with the second highest point differential in the Eastern Conference at 4.8. Work. You got to work. And if the Bulls do that, they can win this basketball game. But we know Giannis with shooters is dangerous. And as I've said many times, the Bulls cannot overlook anybody. And they're in a stretch that is going to be hugely difficult for them with this stretch. This kicks it off. The Bucks, we got the Cavs next on Saturday, then the Spurs and the Detroit Pistons. That is a gauntlet, y'all. And I hope that the Chicago Bulls are ready, prepared, and able to do what they need to do to take care of business here. Because if they do, I'm telling y'all right now, as more people start realizing that this Chicago Bulls team is elite, is legitimate, I will say, you got to prove that by the tests that are in front of you and how you handle those tests. And this is a test that the Chicago Bulls need to come in and handle pretty damn well. And we'll see what this team can do. We've done it as a team. We've done it through activity. We've done it through fighting. And I think that this is a team that has a lot of fight left in it, and the season ain't nearly done yet. So let me know what you guys think on that down below. We do got a voicemail to get into. This voicemail that we have, this one is from Pharaoh.
Hey, man, appreciate the content. Man, I am not going to lie. I did not see Chicago starting off with this much heat because I was definitely going into the season with the anticipation that, oh, man, Chicago is going to stink it up. But, boy, did they change my mind around. But us real Chicago fans know that things can go south real fast, especially with our history of people getting injured. So that's why I wanted to, put a shine on how deep our roster is. And I didn't even realize how deep our roster was until after the first couple of games. But that's one thing that I really appreciate that we didn't really have in the past, is that if some of our key players go down by like injury, we actually have the depth pieces and players to step into their roles and keep us above float. And that's just, man, that makes us such a different team from our past years, being able to like have bench players like Galen Terry, Julian Phillips to step into the roles in case our star players, our key players get hurt. So yeah, man, I love what the Bulls are doing right now. I'm not going to put too much glaze in them because, we really need to see how we look against some of these competitive West teams. But that just makes it feel even better when Coby White and Zach Collins get incorporated into the lineup, so we can actually use the pieces we have to do some damage and some things. But man, I'm just excited, man. Haize, appreciate you again for the content. Chicago is up.
First of all, shout out to you. This is voicemail came, I think, around Halloween, so we've played a couple of games since then. And again, with the Bulls winning, there are a lot of people calling in, so I apologize that I'm a little bit slower in getting into some people's voicemails, but you're absolutely right. The Bulls' depth is crazy, and that is one of the Bulls' biggest weapons at the start of the season is their depth and how they play as a team. And I think that like, and to keep all this in mind, we haven't even seen, with Coby White and Zach Collins out, we haven't even seen the best version of that yet, right? Like, so the way that this team can still grow in those areas as far as depth and attacking and refining what they do as a team, man, this team has the chance to be something special in Chicago that we have not had in a while. And that is something that I'm truly excited about, is just to get that out on the basketball court and to see what this team looks like at full strength. I said on yesterday's episode is that this team is kind of proving the theory of AK Wright. 9 to 10 really good players. But with that, you got a player in Josh Giddey that is turning into a superstar. You add in another player that coming into the season, I think most people would have said, if anybody's going to be contending for an all-star appearance this year, it would have been Giddey and Coby. And we've been missing one of those guys the whole time with this season. When we get Coby White back, I can't wait to see what this team looks like, because I think they're going to surprise even more people, especially with the people that like to doubt Coby White. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, stay safe out there, see red, and always go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.